I feel like we're living in a dystopian science fiction movie. If someone would have told me 3 years ago that this would be our reality, I would have laughed and said such a scenario was too far-fetched to even imagine. Yet here we are. Most people seem to have accepted living in a world where they have lost their free will, where the sand keeps shifting under their feet, where new forms of crises keep popping up, along with rules that don't make any sense. To most people, the world has become a random place where scary threats emerge out of nowhere, and the only way to deal with them is to comply with directives of authorities who claim to know best. If you're watching this video, you probably belong to the small percentage of people who are awake. Do you feel, like I do, that you're living in a parallel universe to most people? That most people are living under a spell, as if they're hypnotized? It's hard to get through to them. It's like there's a psychological divide that can't be bridged. Do you know what I mean? There are none so blind as those who refuse to see, and most people refuse to see, even though the agenda is right out in the open. We don't have to guess what the agenda is. We don't have to engage in so-called conspiracy theories. All we have to do is listen to what the powerful oligarchs of the world are saying in their own words and in their own documents. To the average person, though, who lives without this context, the world is a random and scary place. A place where the individual is forced to react to all sorts of threats. We're all self-respecting human beings, and we're all citizens. We all live in nation-states and in societies. We all want to live good lives, and we all have a lot at stake. Therefore, you would think that every person would ask him or herself questions like, why are all governments around the world moving in absolute lockstep? Why is there almost no variation? Why are they all reading off the same script? Why are liberal democracies cracking down on citizens so hard? Why has Australia of all places in the world, one of the most decent societies on earth, why has Australia turned into a police state? Who could ever believe that could happen? Why do rules keep changing? Why do so few politicians ever speak out for the people? Why is there such an intense, ramped up flood of propaganda on TV? Why is there so much censorship on the internet? Why do markets never go down anymore? Why are small private businesses being shut down and/or regulated out of existence? Why are large corporations dictating public policy? But the astonishing thing is, only a small percentage of people choose to pose such questions. It's like the rest are in a deep slumber. As I said before, if you're watching this video, it's very likely that you're already awake. I'm not telling you anything that you don't already know. One of the reasons you and I think differently from the average person is that we operate with a completely different set of assumptions about the world. This gives us an entirely different framework for understanding current events. To us, everything that is rolled out makes perfect sense in this context. By contrast, most people, including many of our families and friends, will be completely bewildered if they do not understand the following 6 basic things. 1. There actually is a group of global oligarchs, mainly coming from finance, banking, and business sectors, who want to reshape society. Their most prominent public face is the World Economic Forum. They, along with the Bill and Melinda Gates Foundation, among other powerful players, were simulating and coordinating the logistics for a global pandemic months and years before anyone had ever heard of the current pandemic.
But also there will be a surprise outbreak. There will be a surprise outbreak. There will be a surprise outbreak.
You say the next pandemic, there will be another pandemic.
Absolutely. So we, we'll have to prepare for the next one. That, I'd say is, will get attention this time.
2. These bankers and billionaires essentially control the deep state within governments around the world. Very little public policy comes from elected governments.
But it's good to have an outpost of the council right here down the street from the State Department. We get a lot of advice from the council, so this will mean I won't have as far to go to be told what we should be doing and how we should think about the future.
3. These oligarchs believe that capitalism is no longer viable and has run its course. They also believe that there are too many people who, unregulated, are wrecking the planet. They think that left on their own, the economy, society, and the environment will completely self-destruct. Instead, they want an orderly collapse of the old system and a controlled transition into a new one.
It's a very pertinent question to ask, how do we build back better?
To build back better or whatever.
We have a chance to reset the clock and build back better than before.
To build back better than before.
Remember the terrible damage of COVID as we try to build back from this global pandemic.
Joe Biden calls it Build Back Better.
Build back better.
Building back better.
To do things differently. To build back better.
We're going to build it back better.
And build it back better.
It's my plan to build back better.
4. By 2030, they want to get rid of private property and abolish property rights. Five, they think of the pandemic as, in their own words, a great opportunity to reset the world and to retrain people into accepting a new kind of utopian society with them as the masters.
Building back better means giving support to the most vulnerable while maintaining our momentum on reaching the 2030 Agenda for Sustainable Development and the SDGs. This pandemic has provided an opportunity for a reset. This is our chance to accelerate our pre-pandemic efforts to reimagine economic systems that actually address global challenges like extreme poverty, inequality, and climate change.
6. In order to regulate people and to annihilate resistance, they need to set up a surveillance society, starting with the health passport and then moving to a social credit system, which rewards compliant behavior and punishes so-called antisocial behavior.
An individual can use their CoviPass digital passport by presenting their V-code either on their mobile, key fob or home printout. Once scanned, the CoviPass passport displays information securely using permission-based access. This means different information is delivered to the scanning handset based on their user ID, geolocation, time and date, device type, and amount of times they have been scanned.
Because we have a completely different understanding of how the world works from the average person, including many of our family and friends, it's like we're living on a different plane of reality from them. They're running a completely different operating system. Communication is almost impossible. It can feel very frustrating and lonely at times.
The Matrix is a system, Neo. That system is our enemy. When you're inside, you look around, what do you see? Businessmen, teachers, lawyers, carpenters, the very minds of the people we are trying to save. But until we do, these people are still a part of that system. You have to understand, most of these people are not ready to be unplugged. And many of them are so inert, so hopelessly dependent on the system, that they will fight to protect it.
If you, the viewer of this video, are like me, you've come to realize that it's extremely difficult to present logic to the average person. They absolutely don't want to engage in a debate of logic. A frightened person seeks certainty because certainty feels safe. When you present data, logic, and facts, more often than not, the person to whom you're talking will become agitated and angry. This is because you're chipping away at their tenuous but comfortable view of reality. They will attack anything that threatens their feeling of security. To them, it's all about emotions, not logic. The bottom line is that most people don't want to be woken up. especially if they have already followed all the rules and done what they have been told to do. They need to cling to the idea that the authorities know best and would never do anything to harm them.
Everyone had heard that only clever people could see his clothes, so everyone cried out, "How splendid His Majesty looks in his new clothes, and look how well they fit!" Of course, no one could see the clothes, but none of them would admit that, because no one wanted to declare himself a fool. Until a small child cried out, "The Emperor has no clothes on!" Then everyone looked at each other and began laughing out loud. "The Emperor has no clothes on!"
Having said all this, I keep hoping against hope that if the small minority of us keeps shouting, "The Emperor has no clothes," that maybe the illusion of consensus will be broken and the spell that has gripped most of society will dissipate. This is what I hope, but will it happen? I just don't know. But we're going to find out over the next few months.